Have you ever stopped to think about how much time you spent waiting to live? Waiting for the promotion, waiting for retirement, waiting for the right moment that never comes. I spent 40 years running, and I only learned to walk slowly when a clock stopped working. My name is Michael. I'm 65 years old, and this is the story of how a lifeless object taught me what it really means to be alive. I've always been the type of person others called productive. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. I checked emails before coffee. I had a to-do list for every day, every hour, every minute planned. I worked for 42 years at the same company. Project manager. Efficiency was my middle name. Deadlines, goals, results. I lived by the numbers, by deliveries, by the clock. My wife, Susan, used to say I had two loves, her and my stopwatch. I laughed. But deep down, I think she was right. When I retired 3 years ago, I thought I would finally have time. Time to do everything I had put off. Travel, read, learn guitar. The list was long. But you know what I did? I created schedules for retirement. Monday, gym from 7 to 8. Grocery shopping from 9 to 10. Reading from 2 to 4 p.m. Tuesday, walking, gardening, woodworking project. Everything calculated, everything measured. Susan would look at me with that smile that wasn't quite a smile. Michael, she'd say, you retired from work, but not from rushing. I didn't understand. I thought I was making the most of it. I was doing things, wasn't I? I wasn't standing still. I wasn't wasting time. Until, on an ordinary Tuesday in March, the living room clock stopped. It was an antique clock, inherited from my father. It had belonged to my grandfather before that. Oak wood, Roman numerals, a pendulum that swung with a soft, constant sound. It had been in our living room for 38 years. That morning, as I rushed through coffee to get to the gym, I noticed the silence. The tick-tock was gone. The hands showed 3:47. Frozen, stopped in time. My first reaction was practical, as always. I need to fix this today. I'll look for a watchmaker. I'll put it on the list. But Susan placed her hand over mine. Leave it alone for now, she said. Just for a few days. Let's see what it's like to live without knowing what time it is every second. I laughed. I thought the idea was absurd. I had my cell phone, my wristwatch. But something in her voice made me agree. Just a few days, I said. The first few days were strange. I would look at the wall where the clock had always been and see that permanent 3:47. It was as if time had stopped only in that room. But something began to change. Without the constant sound of tick-tock, the house seemed quieter. Not that empty silence, but a full silence, full of other sounds I had never noticed. The birds singing in the morning, the creak of the chair when Susan sat down to knit, the sound of book pages turning, the water boiling on the stove. One morning, I was drinking coffee. I wasn't in a hurry to go to the gym because there was no clock reminding me I was late. So I stayed there, just drinking coffee. And for the first time in decades, I tasted the coffee, really tasted it. The bitterness, the heat on my tongue, the aroma rising. Susan was sitting across from me reading the newspaper, and I noticed how the morning light illuminated her face. When was the last time I had noticed that? The days began to flow differently. Without the clock, I didn't know if it was 2 p.m. or 4 p.m., so I did things when I felt like it, not when the schedule dictated. Gardening stopped being Tuesday from 10 to 11:30 and became when the sun is good and the soil is moist. Reading stopped being 1 hour a day and became until I get tired or until the chapter ends. One day, my grandson Kevin came to visit. He was 7 years old and always full of energy. "Grandpa, can we play ball?" In the old days, I would have looked at the clock. I have 15 minutes before I start my project. But without the clock, there was no more 15 minutes. There was only now. "Let's go," I said. We played until he got tired. I don't know how long it was. Half an hour, 2 hours. It didn't matter. When we went inside, he hugged me tight and said, "You're the best grandpa." And I realized that was the first best grandpa I truly deserved. One night, a few weeks later, I was sitting in the armchair. Susan had already gone to bed. The house was in that silence I had learned to love. I looked at the stopped clock and, for the first time, I understood. The clock hadn't stopped to teach me about time. It stopped to teach me about life. For 40 years, I measured my life in productive hours, in completed tasks, in goals achieved. But I never asked, productive for what? I had lived as if life were a race, as if there were a stopwatch marking how much time I had. And I always thought that if I was fast enough, productive enough, I would win. But win what? Time. Death? Nobody beats time. That clock stopped at 3:47, showed me something I should have learned decades ago. Life doesn't happen on the to-do list. It happens between tasks. In the minutes I always called wasted, the coffee that gets cold while you talk, the walk that lasts longer because you stop to see a flower, the whole afternoon playing ball with your grandson because you forgot to look at the clock. These aren't wasted minutes, they're minutes lived. That night, I got up and looked at the clock closely. I ran my hand over the wood. I felt the weight of the years, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to fix the clock. Today, 3 months later, the clock still shows 3:47, and I still don't know what time it is most of the day. Of course, I didn't throw away my cell phone. I'm not crazy. I have appointments, doctor's visits, schedules I need to follow, but they don't control me anymore. I learned that there's a difference between having schedules and living by schedules. Now I wake up when I wake up. I drink coffee until the cup is empty, not until the alarm goes off. Susan says, I seem lighter, more present. It's like you've finally come home, she said yesterday, and she's right. I spent my whole life running somewhere, but I was already where I needed to be. That stopped clock taught me that time isn't the enemy, rushing is. Time is just the space where life happens, and if you run too fast, you go through life without living it. So now, when someone asks me what time is it, sometimes I look at that clock and answer, 3:47. They laugh. They think it's a joke. But for me, it's the truest time that exists. It's the time when I stopped running and started living slowly. Every day, new stories are brought here. If you want to hear more, subscribe to the channel and like the videos. We'll meet again soon.